Racist cop punches black CIA agent, but her secret power shocks him. In this gripping episode, we dive into a tense confrontation that exposes both the weight of prejudice and the power of resilience. What starts as a routine traffic stop takes a shocking turn when a racist officer confronts a driver, completely unaware that she's far from ordinary. Because hidden behind her unassuming appearance is an undercover CIA agent with a mind-blowing secret. If this story excites you, let us know. Did you enjoy the video? Press 1. If not, press 0. Your feedback inspires me to bring you more uplifting and powerful stories. Maya Jenkins was no stranger to high-stakes encounters. As a covert CIA operative, she had faced the most treacherous missions, from infiltrating war zones to dismantling criminal empires. But after years of living life on the edge, she had finally returned home, seeking the quiet comfort of a suburban neighborhood, a world apart from the chaos she once knew. Tonight, all she wanted was a moment of peace, a chance to blend into normalcy, to let go of the adrenaline-fueled life she had always known. No badge, no weapon, just another resident in a leather jacket, jeans, and sneakers, appearing as ordinary as anyone else on a late-night walk. But beneath that casual disguise, a razor-sharp mind, instincts honed by years of survival, and an awareness that never truly rested. The town was quiet, the kind of place where streetlights flickered lazily over empty sidewalks, and the only sounds were the distant hum of passing cars and the soft rustle of leaves in the cool night breeze. It was why she chose this place. Its stillness, its detachment from the noise of the city. But even in this peaceful setting, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She had seen it in the subtle glances of certain neighbors, in the way conversations seemed to pause the moment she entered a room. She had been in this world long enough to recognize prejudice when it lingered just beneath the surface. As she walked down the dimly lit street, her steps remained steady, her breathing even, her senses attuned to every shift in the air. The houses lining the street were modest, porches adorned with glowing porch lights and carefully tended plants. Some windows flickered with the blue glow of televisions, while others sat in darkness, their occupants already fast asleep. This was her moment to breathe, to feel human again, to step away from the masks she had worn in high-stakes operations, where a single miscalculation could mean life or death. Unbeknownst to her, Officer Todd was patrolling the area in his squad car, his mood bitter, his mind clouded with resentment. 10 years on the force, and what did he have to show for it? Stagnation. Failed ambitions. He had once dreamed of rising through the ranks, of making a name for himself as the kind of cop who cleaned up the streets. But instead, he was stuck here, running routine patrols, his record tainted by misconduct complaints. To him, every slow night was just another reminder of his failures. And every unfamiliar face? A problem waiting to happen. His worldview was simple. Certain people didn't belong in certain places. And it was his job to make sure they knew it. As he drove through the quiet neighborhood, his eyes landed on Maya. Something about her rubbed him the wrong way. Her skin color? Yeah, that was part of it. But more than that, it was her confidence. The way she walked, calm and unbothered, as if she owned the ground she stood on. It irked him, and that was all the reason he needed. The headlights of his cruiser washed over Maya as the car slowed to match her pace. She felt the presence behind her before she even turned to look.
Stay calm.
She kept her stride even, her heartbeat steady. She had learned long ago, never react too soon. Let the situation unfold.
Watch.
Analyze. Be ready. As the vehicle crept closer, she glanced sideways, just enough to confirm what she already knew. A police cruiser. The officer inside hadn't rolled down his window yet, but she could feel his gaze drilling into her, studying her, judging her. Was this just a routine patrol? Or had she somehow drawn unwanted attention? She had been careful, kept a low profile since returning home, avoided anything that could raise suspicion. But even in the simplest of settings, she knew there were things she could never escape. She adjusted her breathing, subtly preparing for whatever was about to come next. The squad car rolled ahead before coming to a halt. The driver's side door creaked open. Out stepped Officer Todd. One hand resting casually near his belt, his stance exuding an air of forced authority, one that felt more threatening than protective. "Evening," he said, his tone clipped and sharp, less of a greeting, more of a command. Maya stopped, turning to face him with calm, unwavering neutrality. She had dealt with men like him before. Men who wielded their power like a weapon, using intimidation as their first and only tool. She knew better than to escalate, but she also knew better than to back down. "Good evening, officer," she replied, her voice even and polite. "Can I help you with something?" His eyes narrowed, scanning her for anything, a reason, an excuse to validate the suspicion bubbling inside him. "You live around here?" His tone made it clear this wasn't just small talk. Maya tilted her head slightly. Not confrontational, but not submissive either. "I do," she answered simply. "Nothing more. Nothing less." Todd stepped closer. His fingers hovered near his belt. "Strange time to be out for a walk," he muttered, his words laced with implication. "Most people are home by now." The air thickened. Tension swelled between them. "It's a quiet neighborhood," Maya responded, keeping her tone neutral. "I wanted to enjoy a peaceful night before heading home." But her calmness? It only irritated him more. His grip on his belt tightened as he leaned in. "You know, we've had some trouble around here," he continued. "Break-ins, vandalism, people hanging around where they shouldn't be." Maya met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "I'm just taking a walk, officer. I'm not looking for any trouble." Todd smirked, but there was no humor in it. "Funny thing about trouble," he muttered. "It usually finds you when you least expect it." Maya's heart rate remained steady, but her mind was already 3 steps ahead, calculating contingencies, analyzing his every move. She had faced warlords, spies, trained assassins. But men like this? They were a different kind of danger. Because they didn't need a reason. Todd took another step forward. "Why don't you tell me exactly where you're headed?" His voice dropped, lower now, more menacing. Maya didn't flinch, didn't waver. "I'm just trying to get home," she said, steady and firm. For a moment, silence swallowed the street. The night itself seemed to hold its breath. Maya knew whatever happened next would define this encounter. But as she watched Todd's hand inch closer to his holster, she also knew tonight was going to test her in ways she hadn't expected. Maya's pulse quickened, but outwardly, she remained composed. She had faced hostile interrogations, ambushes, and situations where her very survival depended on her ability to stay calm under pressure. This was no different. But Todd, he was spiraling, grasping for control in a situation where he had none. He had already decided she was guilty of something. Now, he just needed a reason to act on it. She met his gaze, her voice measured. "Officer, let go of my wrist." But Todd only tightened his grip, his nails pressing into her skin. "I said." Before he could finish his sentence, a sharp voice cut through the tense air. "What the hell is going on here?" Todd's head snapped toward the voice, his grip loosening just enough for Maya to yank her arm free. She took a step back, her muscles tensed, ready for whatever came next. A second officer had arrived, Sergeant Williams, a veteran on the force who had seen enough to know when a situation was going sideways. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes flicked between Maya and Todd, assessing, calculating. Todd straightened up, clearing his throat. "Just checking out a suspicious individual, Sarge." She was acting shifty. Wouldn't answer my questions properly. Williams turned to Maya. "Ma'am, do you live around here?" Maya exhaled slowly, her patience thinning but still intact.
"Yes."
"I already gave Officer Todd my ID, and I've answered every question he's asked. I was just trying to get home." Williams extended a hand. "May I see your ID?" Maya studied him for a moment before handing it over. Unlike Todd, Williams actually looked at it, his eyes scanning the details with the practiced efficiency of someone who actually followed procedure. After a beat, he handed it back. "Everything checks out." Todd's jaw clenched. She was resisting, acting suspicious. refused to let me check her bag. Williams turned his gaze to Maya. You carrying anything illegal? No, sir, she said simply. Williams nodded. Then there's no reason to search. Todd's face darkened. With all due respect, Sarge. Williams cut him off with a sharp look. We're done here, Officer Todd. The tension crackled between them, but Todd knew better than to push back against his superior in front of a civilian. His nostrils flared, but he took a step back, his hand finally moving away from his holster. Maya adjusted her bag strap, her body still wired with adrenaline. She had been seconds away from a situation that could have ended very differently. She had seen it happen before, how quickly a simple interaction could turn deadly. Williams turned to her. Ma'am, you're free to go. Apologies for the inconvenience. Maya held his gaze for a moment before nodding. Thank you. With that, she turned and walked away, her step steady despite the fire still burning in her veins. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had already memorized every detail, Todd's face, his badge number, the raw fury in his eyes as Williams shut him down. This wasn't over. Men like Todd never let things go.